Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my review of I Am Your Beast. So how hard do we want to lead out the front? This is fantastic. I'm so glad I took the time to play it. This is one of the best experiences in gaming that I've had this year, and it is one of those things, I don't know what you want to call them, gamer memories. You will all understand what I'm getting at, where you will remember for years to come fondly this moment, this package. Very high praise for sure. Let me tie it in with the other side of it. I usually do overviews. I only play games for the first 2 hours because that's the refund window. I beat this game in about 2 hours and 15 minutes. So it's short. I think it's $20 US, so it's not super expensive, but a lot of people, and it's a buyer's market, so I am sympathetic actually as your fellow gamer, as someone that runs a segment called Worth Your Time, Worth Your Money. Like, I understand when people would go, well, I could probably get more time to dollar value out of my money. Sure, but what I'm telling you is this is just a really brilliant experience. So maybe even if you have to wish list it, if you just trust my recommendations and you lean towards more, not necessarily narrative, but let's say cinematic gaming, then I cannot recommend this more highly. Drop everything, take your splash money, go get this, and block out your evening and enjoy it. Now, 2 hours is not dried up, no content left. This is actually a very tricky game and a very rewarding John Wick-esque combat loop. And there's a whole challenge mode and extra stuff. So like, I got through the campaign in that 2 hours plus change, but there's a shitload of replayability and challenge modes and that sort of stuff. And it ties back in, I believe, to unlock more of the challenge levels. You have to go back and replay a lot of the campaigns, get essentially 3-star equivalents, A rankings, I believe it is in this. So there is content there. You will get your value from it, but it's shorter as far as the narrative goes, but it's tight. It wastes no time, and I enjoyed every second of it. And to recycle a sort of turn of phrase that I used the other day, this to me represents where if there was a crossroad where how do we go about doing cinematic gaming, this is what would have happened if we turned left and instead we turned right, and we have, Hellblade and all this sort of crap. I'm not necessarily trying to bash on that, but we have these games that become 10, 12 bloated, 50% cutscenes and 50% thin gameplay loop bordering on walking sim, and they have this eternal Damocles question hanging over them of, at what point do you just uninstall the game and go watch Netflix, go watch Love, Death and Robots instead? This is the answer. This should be the gold standard of how studios that want to do that. It has a really awesome gameplay loop, and we'll talk about it, but I know I'm still in broad overview concepts, but the gameplay loop is tough. It's tricky, but it's incredibly rewarding and stylish, very rule of cool, but it's not just flimsy, it's fucking rad as far as a rewarding feedback loop. And the narrative is very punchy and interestingly told, almost, getting into audio drama territory, but the writing is very clean, very tight. It's humor heavy, but it's not going down that sort of miserable modern Avengers-esque humor. It's its own sort of deadpan. Anyway, it's snappy, it works. It's carried heavily by the main character voice actor, whoever that dude is. He's fucking great, and this is coming from someone that absolutely hates voice actors and how seriously they take themselves, and they think that they're actually an important part of the industry. I guess what I'm getting at is this: play this game. You will see, and you will beg for more. I would throw money at more and more of these tight little fantastic cinematic experiences. And I keep using that term because, again, much with my disdain for the artistes over the coders in industry, the voice actors draw my wrath because it's a bit obvious, but the writers as well, sort of almost feeling like they co-opt projects. The story in this is pretty straightforward action bombast. There is a secret agent living out in the hills in retirement. They want to bring him in for another mission, and he's like, fuck off, I'm done, I hate you. And they just keep sending waves of dudes to try and bring him in or kill him. And he has back and forth over the radio with the general that's trying to bring him back for one last mission. And that's about it. That's the conceit. It's not heady concepts or anything like that. It's just executed really well on a very primal concept with a gameplay loop of just run and gun and kill and pursue and push it forward. So yeah, I'm seeing very high praises because in every single category, it is absolutely gold standard. Narrative, acting, writing, gameplay, soundtrack, holy shit, the driving, thumping bass, oh my, it's just incredible. All these little tracks put together, what a curation. All the voice acting of the little dudes yelling and screaming. They've got a female bloody New Zealand voice actress in there, and it works so well, the banter. Anyway, I love it a lot. So the loop is, it's not really parkour, but it is very run and gun. One of the most notable things, which is incredibly satisfying, is that there is a precision to it, but not in what you would expect from something like a Call of Duty nailing headshots. The play in this for headshots is extremely generous. It's not necessarily that I would call it an auto aim lock on, but it's almost like if you're firing in vicinity of above their shoulders, you're gonna hit them in the head. And the pistol is arguably the most satisfying weapon in this, because once you get that momentum down, thunder running, you don't ADS in this. You can, you won't. It's almost like they put it in there because people will ask for it. But you're playing it wrong if you're doing ADS. But you are running and gunning, you are fucking John Wick in the snow, better than I've ever seen in any other game. Just beaning dudes in their head, then you get a shotgun, you're just sitting blokes down, throwing knives are pretty much, you get into your rhythm of whatever it is, slide, F to kick. When they're on the ground, they're sort of rolling around. You can double tap them, Q to throw a knife, that sort of thing. You can throw down bear traps and all sorts of stuff. You can throw bear traps on people's faces. That's great. But it is just, the feedback loop is so solid and distilled. That's the whole thing about this game, I would say, as a top-down elevator pitch. Like, what is so good about this game? It's that it is tight in every single design concept that you can possibly think of. And I wonder if this sort of game could be made years before and intentionally isn't, because the end product is a story well told, and I don't want to spoil what little is in there, but it's fucking great. And that's why you end up with 2 hours at the end, because if you just make it really clean, like the escalation from baby steps to the big finale mission with the bombastic titular soundtrack song, it's so earned. You feel like you earned that, and they've just distilled everything down into a compact 2 hours, which, is probably going to get bashed by some reviews for being, not long enough. But I want to be one of the voices out there saying this is exactly what I want. And we're in a place where people are arguing about what the premium price for games are. I'm not saying I want to pay a AAA price for this, but I will pay an outsized price for this, right? So a higher indie price for a tighter spot like this, I would call reasonable. I would love to shift the goalposts. Who knows? This could be perfectly timed on the back of the pseudo collapse of the AAA industry that's going on, because it's becoming a little bit unwieldy and studios shuttering, and I don't want to get into all that very much, but it doesn't seem super sustainable, this constant growth model of the AAA industry. I would love if the rise from the ashes was this: 2 hour games that are just tight as fuck. They tell their story, they play out their loop, and then they put a pin in it right when it's done. Anyway, I'm obviously singing praises. I really like it, and honestly, it gives me hope. So look, I don't want to go around in circles. I've sung my praises. I can't really find fault with this game at all. And the shit-eating grin when the credits rolled and they're playing the final soundtrack song. And I can't help but think to myself that this is going to sit in an unusual and unique spot. I don't know about you, I'm a cinephile, right? I'll watch some of my favorite movies every year, right? Almost on rotation, or every couple of years. And I'm sitting there watching the credits roll going, I could come back to this. I could play this like I watch a movie every year or two and just be satisfied. And God, saying that out loud makes me realize how badly we need stuff in this space. And I'm not talking about some bloody Firewatch boring walking sim thing that drags on for way too long to justify its price tag. That's not what this is. This is shit hot fun, and it just was an absolute blast. So crack out a few cans, lock the door, block out your evening for a couple of hours, and just settle in for a banger of a sesh. Anyway team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.